Yo, what is going on? Thank you so much for tuning into this video. My name is Ryan, aka Arpit, and today we are going to be diving into a game that I have been highly anticipating for a while now, and it is Ghostrunner for the Nintendo Switch. Now, this game did release a couple weeks ago on other platforms, and the Switch version got delayed, which in a way, at least the way I looked at it, is a positive, just because, you know, if they are wanting to make sure it runs good on the Switch, usually a delay just means that they're working those things out before they actually release it, which to me is not necessarily a bad thing. However, I have some mixed feelings about it. But before we get into it, if you guys are new here to the channel, make sure and hit that subscribe button and like this video if you guys want to see more reviews just like this one. But let's get into Ghostrunner for the Nintendo Switch. So Ghostrunner is a first-person action cyberpunk game set in a futuristic kind of mega building kind of thing. And you obviously play as a ghost runner who's trying to save the citizens of this futuristic mega structure from a very crazy tyrant named Mara. Now, when it comes to the action in this game, it is a one-shot kill game, meaning if you take any damage or any hits from guns or weapons, you are going to need to respawn to restart that section of the level. Now, they are fairly generous with this. They do have a autosave point before each of the main sort of battles that you go into, which really makes for a very interesting game because they give you lots of different avenues to take out all the enemies in that specific area. So if you try one thing, it doesn't work out, you can try that other path or try whatever you want to be able to take out all those enemies in order to progress to the next area. A lot of people will probably find this a little bit frustrating just depending on games that you like to play. I know for me, I personally enjoy the difficulty with that. Just trying to think of those different ways to actually progress through that area and take out everything. But I can definitely see where a lot of people just get really frustrated and want to quit. So just definitely keep that in mind before even considering buying this game. But for me, it was sort of a rewarding kind of system. One thing I did like to do is once I made it through a certain amount of levels, I would just go back to some of the beginning levels, and you could definitely feel a difference of just your ability to play and take out enemies. And at least for myself, I felt like it was a lot easier to get through those levels at the beginning. It's definitely a lot of difficulty there for the combat, but just as difficult, in my opinion, is the platforming elements that are in the game as well. You know, it's a parkour style game, so you are running on walls, trying to avoid traps or like laser fields or you know, different things like that. And I would say I think part of it was the controls, and then part of it was just sort of the difficulty of the platforming. But I feel like I was dying a lot, almost more than when I was actually trying to battle the enemies in the game. And that for me was more frustrating than rewarding for sure. Just because, and I don't know if it's just the how it felt on the Switch or what it was, if it might be easier on other systems or like on PC or something, but I just feel like some of the areas were so difficult, required such precision platforming that I was dying all the time. Like one level I think took me half an hour just to get through one section of the game. It was towards the end, but still just felt like it was taking way longer than it needed to, and I was just ready to quit the game. And that sort of leads me into why I have some mixed feelings on this game. So this game is locked in at 30 frames per second, and I will say at 30 frames there aren't like any dips or any inconsistencies with that, which is a good thing. But unfortunately, I feel like especially when I first started, it was almost like my eyes needed to adjust to just to the game itself, just because it does require a lot of precision when you don't have the best graphics, things like that. It just makes the game a little bit more difficult, and while the game itself is already difficult, it's just making a difficult game even harder. And don't get me wrong, I finished the game. Like most of it, I really had a good time, especially once I feel like my eyes were kind of adjusted to the game itself. I was really enjoying my experience and everything. But when you look at some of these levels, so the levels are sort of split into sort of the main city and building areas, and then you go into the void, which is kind of diving into a computer, and so there's a lot of blocks and cells and things like that. That is when I feel like my eyes were going to just pop out, because it was just hard to look at sometimes in those areas, and I couldn't even see some of the areas where I was supposed to be walking. It was just so bad. And so that's where those, downgraded graphics really hampered the experience of this game. The city itself, you can definitely get by with what they give you on the Switch, but those other void computer areas that you run into are they're just horrendous. They were easily my least favorite part of the game. Luckily, all those parts, you're not doing a lot of difficult things as far as like taking out enemies or a lot of the platforming elements. Normally those are parts where you're gaining new abilities and just trying them out, but it was something that really hampered the experience for me. So while I had a pretty enjoyable time with the concept of the game itself, it's very hard to recommend buying this game on the Switch. Like if you have any other platform, it is not worth having this game like for handheld or anything. Like I honestly wouldn't even bother with it. It is going to look so much better, and the levels are probably going to be so much easier on other platforms that I probably would stay away from the Switch. The only reason I would probably buy this on the Switch itself is, well, obviously you do have the portability aspect, but it's a little rough with those areas that I mentioned. Or if the Switch is the only system that you own, it's still a very good game. I probably wouldn't spend the full $30 on it. I do believe it's going to be 20% off for the next couple of weeks or so. So it is like $6 off right now, but I probably wouldn't spend more than $15 on this on the Switch if I'm being totally honest. So definitely let me know if you guys ended up playing this either on the Switch or on another system, what you guys thought about the game. Like I said, it's definitely an enjoyable experience. I just think for the Switch itself, what they were able to put out for the Switch as of right now, it's just not something that's super worth it in my opinion. I would probably give it a generous like 6.5 out of 10 if I had to put a grade on it. But even then, that's probably being a little bit generous. I just think you are so much better off buying it on another platform, or at the very least waiting for like a 50% off or more sale on this game. But thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure and hit that like button and subscribe if you guys are new here to the channel as well. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.